Hi everyone and welcome to Adobe Live on Behance. This week is about UX design. I am Michael and I have the pleasure to welcome for this first show, Daniel. Hi Daniel.
How you doing? Good morning.
Very good. So we will be live for 8 hours, 4 shows. We start with Daniel, then we have Madison World, they're coming from New York. We have Nick and Ian, they design experiences for video games. And we will end with Tallinn and Daniel, they work for the Adobe Experience Design team. And if you have any questions about Adobe XD, experience design, UX design, this is your opportunity to use the chat. So we are live on behance.net/live. Make sure to sign in and engage with us in the chat. I see Stephanie from Washington. We are live from San Francisco, by the way. I see Ali from Nigeria, Lagos. Wow, awesome. Thanks for watching from Africa. And Dana, thanks for watching. We have the chat in front of us. Feel free to ask any question. And in a few minutes, I will also explain how you can also create and share prototypes using Adobe XD that we have just released as an official 1.0 release last week at Adobe Max. But you used Adobe XD before during the beta program.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have Daniel because he will share his background. But I wanted to have a senior UX designer who also design experiences for Windows, because Adobe XD is available on Mac, but also on Windows. And Daniel is very brave because he will design today on a Surface Pro.
Pro through, that's correct.
Yeah, which is awesome. We have people from Dallas. We have people from Washington. A lot of people from Washington. I don't know. Maybe the White House is watching. I don't know what's happening.
I don't know.
So maybe we can just jumpstart, share your screen, and you can maybe tell us who you are and what you will be doing over these 3 days, because we will be live for 3 days.
Right.
Same time. So today, tomorrow, and on Thursday, same time on behance.net.
For 2 hours each day.
Yeah.
My name is Daniel. I've been in design for about 17 years. I was kind of born and raised in Los Angeles, but then later transplanted to Seattle, Washington to work for Microsoft. Transplanted, as they call us. But it was a fantastic move. I got to work for one of the companies that I most admired for a very long time. And fortunate enough to be able to work with great people, but also great teams that were really looking at how to push the envelope when it comes to design for Windows, merging phone and desktop into one, eventually creating what we now know as the UWP or Universal Windows Platform.
Oh yeah, we will talk about it, yeah.
Absolutely.
And Ashley is loving the fact that you're working on the Surface Pro. So yes.
You know what? It's a really great machine, and it really helps connect you to the device you're actually going to be designing for. So this is just one example of that.
Huh. Awesome.
So yes, I've been in design for a long while. I've moved from interaction, where I started, small agencies, all the way up into visual design, creative direction, and of course, right now, really loving the space of UX in general. Yeah.
Awesome. So, what is your plan? For this Adobe Live? Because so the concept of Adobe Live is this is the first time you're joining, and maybe you can let us know in the chat, is it the first time you're watching Adobe Live on Behance or no? The concept is that we invite top creatives from all around the world, and we just ask them to create something. So the theme of the week is UX design, but for instance, next week we will have graphic designers working on packaging. Within 2 weeks, we will have illustrators and digital painters. And we just ask them, create, share your creative process, and answer the questions from the community.
So the plan for the next couple of days here, or 3 days, is to develop and design a activity finder. So there's often times where, let's say you're just don't know what you're going to do, right? You're like, you have an itch, you want to actually get out there, and you're like, well, I want to hang out, but I want to hang out with like-minded people, right? I want to be able to either find people who want to go out and watch that concert, or let's say I'm on a cruise for the first time and I'm interested in to do things on that boat, but I'm new to it. I'm unfamiliar with what to do on that boat.
So you are in an environment, you're surrounded by people that you don't know.
And you want to be able to be,
but if you
social
want to
enough.
If you want to play tennis, you need someone else.
You need a partner, right?
Okay.
So you're basically just trying to find activities that share like-minded interests with yourself, and really find the opportunity to connect in ways that otherwise you wouldn't have the opportunity to. And so we're going to look at that flow and start with phone and then get to tablet and see how much further we can go, because I believe that the strength of Windows UWP is to be able to scale. You designed once and you can see that designed once, and that experience will ultimately cover as many devices as possible, many scenarios as possible. And as a UX designer, it's really important to understand how scenarios change depending on the context of the situation, the devices you use. And we're going to leverage both the really awesome power of Adobe XD for prototyping and validating that, and of course the principles behind UWP and using the toolkit to really accelerate how fast we can go, and then throw a layer of visual design at that with a little more personalization to show kind of like the graphic and visual design side of it as well.
Awesome. So before you start, I want to tell our friends in the chat, and I see that there are a lot of first-timers. So the first time they're watching Adobe Live, we always give you the opportunity to win a Creative Cloud subscription. So during this show, we want you to, and maybe we can share my screen. So during this show, we will have a kind of really super easy and like a contest in a way.
Mm-hmm.
We just want you to create and share. So you can download and install Adobe XD. Okay, visit adobe.com or type xd.adobe.com. It's available on Windows 10 and on Mac. The theme of the day is travel. Okay, so this is just for today because it will change tomorrow. It will be another theme. So you install XD, you design a 3-screen experience, you use the prototype view to add interactions. You will see what this is during the show. And you can share to publish your prototype on the web. And then you copy-paste the link in the chat. Okay, and with Daniel, we will review your prototypes. And at the end of the show, so within 2 hours, Daniel will say, okay, my favorite one is this prototype. And the author of the prototype will win a Creative Cloud subscription. So with XD, it's super easy. Okay, you just create screens. So here on the right, you have some settings and say, okay, I will start with an iPhone experience, and you can add your shapes. Okay, so this will be my start button, for instance. Okay, I'm just showing you like it's the fastest, the quickest demo of Adobe XD. Okay, okay, and you can add text. You say, okay, start. By default, it's always Helvetica because it's everywhere on all devices.
It seems never to get old.
Yeah, never old. Design. What year was that? Like 1954 or something.
It was back, 19.
Yeah, maybe 53. Okay, let us know in the chat.
Yes.
Okay,
Someone research, please.
Helvetica with design. Okay, and then you can duplicate the screen, and let's say here you have something else, so you can just place some elements. You can drag and drop pictures. I mean, you will see everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 1, 2, and 3 screens. This one is very conceptual. It's one of my best.
Yes, it's abstract. I love it. A lot of.
Yeah, you get it.
I get it.
And then, so why we invite you is you switch to the prototype view, and say, if I click here, I want to jump to this screen with a slide left transition. If I click here, I want to jump to this screen with a push left transition. Okay, and this will be my home. So you can test your prototype. Here we go. And what we want you to do is to click here on share, okay, and create a link. So it will create a website, actually, like a web page. Okay, so you can copy the link, and and this link you just paste it in the chat. So this is our way to review your work. Okay, and the theme is travel. Okay, you have 2 hours to create something and share it with Daniel. Okay, so download XD now, use it now, and we will review your work.
And it's fantastic. The theme of the day is travel. The work
it
that we're
matches
looking
with your
it matches. It just happens to coincide. It's fantastic.
Okay, so let's get back to your screen, Daniel, and I let you start.
All right, we're gonna start from the very beginning. I want to kind of show the process from the very beginning, and a lot of UX is going to be starting with kind of the research and kind of asking why. What is the reason we're doing this? What is it fundamentally solving for people? And so we're going to kind of work with a couple of assumptions moving forward. We are going to just have that kind of baked in as our kind of starting point, that the problem for people right now is, hey, you know what, I'm on this cruise, and it may be some situation where your family's taking you to this cruise. Yeah, there's some great things, but you're really new to this whole experience, and you want to be able to enjoy what's on the cruise, what's offered, but you want to be able to do it with like-minded people that share your interests. And so we're going to build a design that really helps facilitate that, and then we're going to look at that first on mobile, and then we're going to take it all the way to kind of a tablet experience or desktop experience.
Awesome.
And then see where we go from there. And I'm going to go through each of the steps here. I'm going to keep it as digital as possible, because I think in some cases keeping things digital can help accelerate thinking and validate things as you go along, and using the toolkits that Windows has put out there. So I'm going to go through and show you how that all is going to link, download, and all that. So it's going to be fantastic.
Okay.
And right here on the bottom of my screen, you can see that there's already these toolkits. And you see here, there's Microsoft Windows. I've already downloaded, but I'll show you the link real quick. You can see that the toolkit is already for Adobe XD is on the very top. Fantastic. And you would click it and download it on your machine. I already have that, so I'm just going to quickly go to my location.
Okay.
And I wanted to show this to everyone just to show how robust the toolkit is on Windows and UWP.
So someone is asking, can I install Adobe XD on Windows 7? No, so it's on Windows 10 because this is using UWP.
UWP.
This is one of the first application, like robust application, actually developed for this new generation of Windows apps.
Absolutely.
So that's why you need Windows 10, I think the anniversary update, to be super precise.
So here you can see so many of the different components you would need, and you have all the iterations, buttons that have different on-off states, a very common practice across all the other...
And this has been designed by Microsoft, by the way.
Absolutely.
So all these UI kits, there is one about Google Materials designed by the Google team, and I saw, and also you will find some kits designed by the community that are not listed in the welcome screen, but if you Google like Adobe XD UI kits, you will find one by Facebook, for instance. So you will find a lot of...
There's no shortage of resources out there, and that's what's really fantastic. The community is growing, and it's really just to help people really envision what their, you know, what their goal is.
So I guess you are very familiar with this components.
Very familiar, yes. Going into the very nuanced details of, you know, understanding the various states. And what's really great is that this toolkit will get you going in a way that's really going to ensure that when you actually build with these pieces, that when you go and actually develop it, you'll get a lot of things that are either part of the new Fluent design system, which is fantastic. You'll see some of those components that are really indexed on material, light, animation, and all those various aspects play a role here. So if I look at just the navigation pane here, you'll see that there's a material behind it, and that's called acrylic, and that has different layers and effects essentially. Where if you take this, you'll see that you can either punch through behind the actual app itself or within the app container itself. It really depends on your vision, your design, the context that you're in. And the beautiful thing about it is for Fluent Design, a lot of the things that if you use the toolkit straight up as it is, a lot of the policies that are going to be there for either accessibility, people who are using keyboard only, or narrator for people who have to just rely on audio. All these things are managed already by the system. So by using these pieces in the toolkit and getting started there, you'll already be set up for success. So that's amazing. So I cannot stress that enough. It's almost like a much more refined wireframe. And then of course you can always layer your style, your brand, your that character that you would want to differentiate on top of that, just making sure that you understand all the things you already get. So I think that's really important.
So we have some questions already.
Sure.
A question by Chavirage. Okay, I will do it the French way.
Do it the French way.
Can we design a mobile app? So actually, with Adobe XD, you can design any kind of screen experiences. Like you can design in the same project. So the desktop experience, the mobile experience, the smartwatch experience, the car dashboard experience. Anytime there is a screen, you can design it. So yes.
So in fact, we're going to start with mobile. So I'm going to open up one and go directly into the resolution that I need, and I think I clicked on the wrong thing.
Which is okay.
It's all good.
You can create another artboard, and
I got it right there. It's all good.
And Dana is asking, are there symbols now in Adobe XD?
Yes, there are symbols and overrides and everything. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so you will see how to use it. Dana, if you want to play with symbols already, there is an assets panel that you can use, and you will understand how symbols work.
Right, and that assets panel is Control-Shift-Y for those who are shortcut friendly or love that. And you can see you got your symbols and your layers, so that's Control-Y, and you can see that I already have one artboard, so it's very shallow, so there's not much there in terms of layers, but that will change as soon as we get started here.
And Kerry Simmons, you missed the link to the toolkit. So when you open XD on the welcome screens, there is Open UI toolkit. Yeah, here.
It's right here.
UI kits. Okay, and there is one that will guide you to the Microsoft one. Okay.
And just
a
to
link.
let you know that on this particular site, when you get it, you'll see also on the left-hand side a whole bevy of different resources that go into the different style and really talk about usability, the Fluent design system. So you'll have a lot of different content for you to consume to really get a familiar handle on how do you design on Windows. And it's all really, they're geared for design in this particular section.
Nice. Okay.
So even if I forget something, you'll see me go back.
So we even have some question in French, so that's good because I can read French. Will we get improvement on gradients? On gradients, it's already quite evolved because you need to also, you don't want something too advanced because it's not for print, like someone is asking, like in InDesign, but InDesign has been targets prints.
Yes.
Here you target screens, you target the web with some CSS limitations, you target native OSs. So usually you try to keep it cool with gradients.
Yes. And again, you'll see that there are materials that, like acrylic, as I mentioned before, that is capable in XD, which is using various different filters to actually make that effect happen. So that's another fantastic thing. So we're going to start and just start with basic organization, like what am I looking for in terms of the flow. And as I said, the premise is really how do I find like-minded people to do activities with. And the scenario is on a cruise, so this is really about travel. And again, you want to be somewhere where you have complete accessibility no matter where you are. And later we'll get to looking at a tablet or desktop version of the same app, and we'll do it all within one interface. And again, the beautiful thing about what we're looking at, again, something like Sketch, you're having this both design and prototyping in one platform, which is fantastic. So you don't have to break your workflow or jump out of that experience and go to something like InVision, which is going to be web-based or whatnot. So everything is self-contained and manageable and connected with everything else that's a part of the Adobe suite. So if you're familiar with Photoshop, Illustrator, for other things like illustrations and whatnot, it's all going to be more connected in one ecosystem. So I'm just going to do very basic things here. First of all, I'm going to start with just doing a type layer here just to kind of say what we're doing here. So this is going to be the kind of onboarding experience. And I'm going to kind of...
There are so many questions. I answer some of them in the chat, otherwise it will just be a Q&A. So there are a lot of questions as you are designing this screen about the handoff. Like how does it work? Like you design, you prototype, but how do you give it to developers? So today you can export visual assets very easily. You can export anything to a PNG, SVG, like what the developer needs in terms of visual assets. It doesn't generate code. Today it will be in about 6 hours. We will have Talin. He will be live with us. He's the lead designer of Adobe XD, and this is something we can cover because handoff is definitely a topic for Adobe XD, so the team is definitely considering it. And maybe if we insist and if we tease Talin, he will show something.
Right.
So we will see.
Okay.
There is a plane taking off. Can you hear the plane?
I can hear the plane. We're going somewhere. I don't know where we're going, but we're gonna start designing here.
Okay.
So depending on where you are with the research, the background in terms of understanding what the needs are for your particular audience, and sometimes, of course, you're going to have to really rely on what are the goals and objectives of the business. Here we're going to again assume a couple of things here and really just focus on what is the ideal experience for someone trying to find activities that they would want to be part of and find people to kind of connect with. So the first thing I had envisioned was really to have this kind of feed of things that were going on, that people were doing, and then of course have an option for you to say, this is what I'm looking to do, who's doing that with me? So very simple premise where you have a feed of activities that are happening around you, so it's all geolocation based.
Okay.
And then you also have this component where you have the means to tell the app what you want to do, and then find, like in a search, what it is that interests you and if there's anyone doing it, essentially. So those are the things we're going to start with. So there's a couple of ways we can go about this, but I'm going to start with the home screen and kind of like this light onboarding experience, and that's going to ask the user, what is it that you like? So just a basic, like, what are your preferences? What are your, do you like to bike? Do you like to swim? Do you like to, and I'm going to, reach out and see what people like to kind of get the content. And so we'll start with that particular premise. So we'll have some copy at first. What are your
interest? Okay, that's the first question.
And again, it's going to start very basic. It's going to be very wireframing, and then we'll layer and layer at the toolkit components as we start to kind of get more understanding of what the structure is like. So we'll keep following that process.
So we have a lot of questions about features, like when they will be coming, such as a fixed header or footer. So I invite you to visit a website, because when we designed Adobe XD, we really started from a blank page and we designed it with the community, and we are still using this website. The website is xd.uservoice.com. We will put the link in the chat. And this is the place where you can directly interact with the XD team. You can submit features, you can vote for features, and the XD engineers and product managers, they directly exchange with you. So like fixed headers and fixed footers, I know it's a feature that has a lot of votes, but you can add your vote. Also, how to hand off to a developer with specifications for CSS, etc. This is also something that has a lot of vote. We're definitely working on it. We just released XD, but we are still committed to have monthly releases. So every month you will get an update with new features. Like in the coming weeks, you will get some very cool new features that we're all waiting for for a month. I cannot share which one, but very useful ones.
I'm excited. I tell you that.
Oh, Helvetica 1957.
Thank you. Yes. So a couple of things, I'm just copy pasting directly, components directly from the toolkit I mentioned before. You can do that in a number of ways. I'm just doing, Control C to copy, very basic. And already there are things in this toolkit that I don't need, so I can either hide them, which is very convenient in the panel, or I can just delete them all right and just select it and delete, which I know I don't need. But again, just really helps you just really don't have to, worry about, drawing a rectangle and doing all that. You already have the actual style for UWP already here for you. And as I said, we'll layer on kind of the visual design component as we kind of already figure out the actual flow. So here I'm going to say, what are your interests, and have an open search box that's going to allow me to basically say, hey, here's a freeform way of saying what you want. We'll probably look at a drop-down mechanism that's going to be able to do type ahead that will give you pre-selected categories, but we're also going to do this kind of really small window of things that are already kind of the top activities that might be, related to cruise activities. So there's a lot. The cruise,
yeah.
Cruises are like cities.
I've never been on a cruise. Have you?
I've never been on a cruise, but I'm.
We watched. What is this TV show?
Love Boat.
Love Boat. We watch Love Boat. We're good. We know what's happening.
Right. Well, I happen to work for an OTA, which is a online travel agency now, and so really swimming in like the complex ways in which traveling can really present like, again, a bevy of options, and so we don't want to overwhelm people, and the goal is really just to move with your likes really quickly. So, what are your interests? And I'm going to choose a list here. So I'm going to go over here, and what's really fantastic is Microsoft has really thought about, what are the real scenarios that are going to be, required here. And I can see that there are a bunch of different list elements here, and I think, for one thing, I'm going to want a visual associated with this. I want to have something
like
that marries with a little icon or even some kind of richer illustration, right?
Okay.
So in that, I'm already going to look at this kind of double or a triple line item. I think I'm going to go with double because I think we're going to keep the information lightweight, just with the name of the activity and a little description.
Okay.
And then see what's already fantastic. I basically just selected it, and you can see already other elements that I'm going to be loving. So I'm not going to get to it yet. I'm just going to copy and paste. And again, one of the fantastic things that we really look at is kind of all the snapping preferences here. So like everything is already kind of aligned. And again, if I want to make sure, I can just select everything, and then of course left, and it's already there. So I'll keep that there. So
Alistair is asking, can you currently create your own UI kits? So yes, Alistair, because the UI kit is a XD file. Okay, so I know some agencies, for instance, where they start working on projects. First, they create a UI kit, which is a kind of what's the name? Like a guideline or a spec guide. A spec guide. So and they share it with all the team members. You can create assets. So you have symbols that you can share, such as the logos, the colors. We will cover that, but yeah, definitely, Alistair. And you can create a UI kit and actually share it with the community. I start seeing some UI kits on Behance actually that are being shared. So yeah, there was a very cool one. Did you see the wireframe one? It's from an agency, but Adobe sponsored it. Yeah, we will find the link in the chat. But there is a very cool one. It's called wireframe. Super useful.
And so a couple things, I want to add a little bit of hierarchy right now, just very, very, very early on, just to help me understand the relationships and balance of things. And the font that I'm using, which is the default of the Windows system, is Segoe, and it's a very humanistic typeface. And if you use Segoe, you'll really have this synergy with a lot of the other apps that are in UWP. So again, there's something to be said about having some of the basic elements that are within the OS itself, since users are kind of familiar and used to that. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm really going to just pump up that type, and maybe not to 42, maybe that's too big. And basic things like shift. I'm going to base all my movements kind of either on a 4x4 pixel grid. So the idea is that those are easier to divide, and so when you render things on your machine and whatnot, like you don't want to ever deal with like odd numbers like 5 or whatnot. You want to keep with 4. Some systems are 6, some are 2, but ours is 4, or at least for this particular iteration is 4. So again, we have this drop down, we have a list, and we're going to have a little bit of context to what this list is really doing. So again, I can go back and look at a few pieces here and see that in terms of suggesting, if you're just getting started, and something that I think helps all designers is what is the kind of scale range that you're looking for. And what's really great about the type ramp that Microsoft puts out is that it really gives you kind of that, header system. So you got the header, which is a really bold, really large footprint, all the way down to the base, or kind of the body copied into caption.
Yeah, the hierarchy here is very good. That's super obvious.
Yeah, super
easy to understand.
So I'm going to use, at the point that I'm going to then add kind of the context, like this line will be right now, we'll leave it base.
So Husam is asking, can we fix the top nav bar in the design? Not yet, Husam. You can create a scrolling screen, like you can go over the dimension of a screen and then it will scroll, but you cannot have a fixed top navigation yet.
Right. And we'll get into navigation, and we'll look at the nav pane and maybe even change the default iteration of the nav pane. There are ways in which the nav pane has adjustable elements to it, so you don't have to just be stuck with the way the nav pane looks. There's always control that you have as a designer, and whatever your needs are for the particular project at hand.
And someone is asking how to work with Photoshop in PSD files. So maybe I can quickly show something. It has been released last week. So now, if you're in Photoshop and let's say you're working on this picture, you can use your Creative Cloud libraries, which is new. So I can take this. Okay, maybe I will just do this and this, and add it to my Creative Cloud library. I will call it Hipster Man. Okay, I don't need this anymore. And now it's directly in XD, and I can drag and drop it and put it in this element, for instance. But here, what is new is that it's a linked smart object in the cloud. So if I ask my designer to open Photoshop and in the library to edit this picture, so what can we do? We can use the brush maybe, and or we just play with the curves. Okay, make it more burnt like this. I just have to save it, and then the designer working in XD will automatically get the update. Okay, it will sync my library, sync the graphic, and now it's already in XD. And it doesn't have to be the same user. Here it's me working in Photoshop in XD, but it could be me working in Paris, you designing in Seattle, and you would get the updates in real time too.
That's fantastic.
So I really invite you to check the Creative Cloud libraries and how you can collaborate with designers. And that was it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there support for gradient fields? Yes, Rio. You can add gradients. When you click on fill color at the top, you can click on fill and select gradient.
So I'm just actually now extending my artboard, so you can see that there's a little dotted line that communicates that. So even if I was going to do it right now with nothing else going on, and just to see what that's going to be, I can already get a sense that, there's the preview right in line.
And you have the scrolling.
And yeah, exactly. And that scrolling is already built in. And again, this is just really helping me early on just vet whether or not the interaction or the content information hierarchy or the IA itself is working the way I want to. So right now I'm creating two distinct buckets. I have top local activities that are going on around you. I have popular activities in general. And again, your interests are going to be something that we're going to be looking at. And again, I'm going to play around to show you just how malleable and how fast, if you have one line of thought, you can easily just change it and there's no breakdown to your workflow, which I think is really amazing. So here I think, you know what, 3 is not enough. I'm just going to...
And Riho missed the drop down. Like, how did you do the...
Oh, sorry, yes. So you want to go, there is a desktop preview. It's this little play icon. And I earlier pressed A, or you can actually just select on the screen, and I used the handles to actually extend
the size of your
of the artboard, which is indicating the length.
And that's why there is this blue
that's why there's that blue line.
Okay.
Absolutely, yes. If I go too fast, please ask any questions. I'll back up. And I'm just showing how flexible, malleable the overall workflow in XD is, because there are things that are changed. Even if you have a good lockdown design, there are some times where you have to change quite a number of elements to either respond to usability testing, feedback from stakeholders, just your own preference. You might change a circle to a square, and it might be whatever that need is. You can do that. So there's no tax or penalty. Just move to really validate your ideas.
So Chris is asking, can XD write code? Not today. It is definitely something we are considering to export code, but then what type of code? So I think it's more what's interesting is so there you have 2 strategies with this. The first one is to have an open platform with plugins, and you let developers or people like really mastering a certain framework to analyze your design and generate the code. Or you can have an experience just to guide the developer and see and share the design specs, like how much space you have between the header and the title, this type of stuff. So the team is definitely working on finding the best strategy. Mm-hmm. And Reynaldo is asking, can I preview this design on a device in real time?
Yes.
So yes, you can, just using a USB cable, and you can on the iOS or an Android device. Just download the free XD application on the App Store and on the Google Play market, and you can preview your design.
And even for unsupported devices, I have a Windows phone. I used to test a lot on it. I think any designer is going to really want to see what they're doing in real time as much as possible at any kind of prototyping stage. So even at this moment where there's basic bones on this right now, I can share online, create this link.
It's
mere
true.
seconds.
Yeah,
and then
it becomes a URL.
There you go, right? And so I can copy that link, and I didn't bother to share it to anybody, but I should just copy this to Adobe. So I remember Adobe Live event.
So Gelindo, so the dotted line of the Scrabble screen, can you hide it? So this is just for you in the design view, but when you run the prototype, of course, you won't see the dotted line, the blue line. Anastasia is asking, can you draw a triangle in XD? You can draw whatever you want. I will invite you to try the pen tool, which is much easier, way easier to learn than the one in Illustrator. Super smart. So don't hesitate to draw icons directly in XD, actually.
So you can see here already, there's a couple things. I extended the list using the repeat grid, which is a fantastic way of just looking at how we can manage content. So being able to go from 2 to 4 lines is super easy, and then it repeats everything. You have gutters that allow you to actually change that. So I'm going to keep it at 16. And again, what's really fascinating is keeping that content, kind of live as possible. We're going to get to later where we're going to actually put content to populate some of this. And we're going to show you some nifty things where you can do with text and with images that are going to auto-populate those things. So stay tuned for that. And what I would love to have people kind of give me some ideas for activities that you would do on a cruise.
Okay. So use the chat. We need some activities. Just use the chat to share with us some activities. On a cruise.
Yes, on a cruise. Sorry about that.
It's important.
Yes. So right now I'm also going to duplicate this screen. I'm a little, I love keeping things pretty orderly, so I'm going to keep mine at 40. And for right now.
Okay, so we have scuba classes, a shameless karaoke, that's good. Whale watching,
All right.
concerts, drink pina colada, swimming lessons, happy hour, the captain's dinner.
Okay.
Yeah, they are very creative.
Very creative. All right. So let's do a couple of those things. Captain. I didn't even think about that at all. Captain's dinner. Look at that. We'll keep things.
Shuffleboard, children activities. Okay, team. Moby Click, good one.
Moby Click?
Yeah, Moby Click. I guess it's just something maybe to see whales, like Moby Dick, Moby Click. I know, like they are they are too creative. You're getting too creative now. A zip line.
Oh, there are cruises that have zip lines.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my.
I think it's one word.
A belly flop contest. Okay, Dana. So, it will be a very fun cruise.
Indeed. Let's do a poker tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Tennis.
Hi, Guichi. Is there a way to export XD project to Adobe Muse? No, Guichi. You can use XD to really design and prototype the experience, make sure that your users understand everything, and then jump into Muse to create the final experience in HTML. Oh, ballroom dancing. Yeah, it's true. Like dancing is
yes.
like salsa, this type of stuff. Yeah. Always big on a cruise. Can you write small scripts for validation and XD? No, Tamer, but you can simulate it. Usually that's what we do in UX designs. For instance, if you have a field where you want to show, type your email and you want to show the error message, if the email is not correct, then you would add just one screen and explain the user, this is how we will display the error message.
All right, there's one thing going on here. There we go. All right, so I'm going to show you a really little nifty feature. I'm going to take this activities and then just drop it here. Oops, dropped it to the wrong thing. Don't want to do that. So just to really validate, I can actually then take that list, and let's say that list was really vetted and it was all the activities that
so you enter the activities in a text file?
In a text file.
Okay.
And then I'm going to select the actual title for that particular item and then drop it right in line.
Whoa.
And you can see that, the top local activities that are right now trending are Captain's Dinner, wine tasting, as we all kind of, thanks to your input, have been able to put right in place. And now for the next line of text, I really just want to keep it basic. I'm just going to have a really generic line description for that particular item. So we're going to go back in and actually then just create a new one. Sorry. And based off of those activities.
Can we connect iOS mobile to Windows desktop for work in real time? Wow, it's a good question. I've
was
never
the question?
tried, actually.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Like if we plug an iPhone to Windows, do we have an iPhone preview with Windows?
Last time I tried that, it did not seem to work.
Okay.
But
it's a good question, yeah.
It's a good question. We'll have to follow up.
Good question.
And again, that was before 1.0 came out, and that was just recent, so there could have been things that I don't know. And you'll see that in this prototyping process, a lot of the content gathering itself, having the right information is critical. So we're building this on the fly. But again, it's showing you that once you have those things, it's very easy to slip all that in to actually get more real content. So meet. And we'll do. So I'm just creating descriptions real briefly for all the local activities so you have enough context for your user. Again, context is key. Making sure you have the right amount of information so they can actually act upon it and make decisions is critically important. again, we're making a lot of assumptions. This is, again, really ad hoc, but again, that's the power. Once you have a lot more of that information up forward, it gets more and more real each time. So, I mean, and I'm going to be a little funny. I'm a little levity, so like the swimming one, I'm not a great swimmer myself, so this one's going to be don't, conquer your fear of swimming.
Now they have some very advanced question. So I really like the workflow you're using, using a text file, just to edit each line. And now we have Red saying, okay, but if we put the text file in a Creative Cloud library and we update the text file, will it update the list? So no, okay, so we don't actually support text files in Creative Cloud libraries. Yeah. We have like images, that's what I was showing you. You have colors, text styles, like paragraph styles. And what else for the moment? I think that's it. But you will see more and more features because the goal of Creative Cloud libraries is really so first to communicate from one program to another one, like from Photoshop to Illustrator, Illustrator to XD, for instance. But also when you have multiple designers working all together on different parts. So it's a great way to collaborate in real time.
So this is something I want to show, very practical issue. You can see that I dropped in that text and now it's clipping, right? There's a length issue. And at the same time, you have the repeat grid on. Yeah. So you're like, okay, so how do I resolve that? That's a thing I don't want to see happen here. Well, you basically just go into the margins, and let's see if I can actually get the margins correctly, and then
just remove it.
Just remove it, right?
Awesome.
So no longer in your field of view. And then I can basically say...
there is a Windows notification sound. Okay. Can you make sure there is no sound coming from the computer?
Okay. Yeah, sure. And what I'll do is I'll just lower my...
So GIFs, they're asking, do we support GIF? Not yet, but it's something that has been really requested. Like if you want to have, like someone was mentioning, like a loading,
Yes.
This type of stuff. So it's not supported today. But we will talk to Tallinn again. The XD lead designer is coming, and this is something we can really consider. What's the difference between XD and video? Same, it's not supported today. But let us know, like if you go on xd.uservoice.com, this is where you can vote for features, and you can have a conversation with the XD team about it. Yeah, sorry, Malto, I wasn't aware of the Windows notification stuff.
And there's a couple of things here. One of the things that is often overlooked, but so critical, is like, okay, I want to know what my guide structure is. So now I'm looking at a couple of things here, and it's a little, wonky here, right? You can tell that my margin up top is 27, 29 on the side, 80 on the left, and I want to make that a little bit, not so disordinate. So I can easily just do a couple things. I love to snap and just use keys to kind of get my feel for things. So now you see that is 30-30, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Oops, wrong button. And again, I'm using a very small keyboard, so my typing won't be the fastest today, I can tell you.
You need tiny fingers.
Tiny fingers, yes.
Thank you, Matthias, for putting the link. Yeah, if you want to see GIFs, animated GIFs soon in Adobe XD, make sure to visit the link shared by Matthias and vote for the feature. You can also read the discussion, the conversation about this feature. Sherry is saying the description text is the same for captions, dinner, and zipline.
You're right.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Ooh,
Snake eye.
Thank you.
Is there a spell check? I don't think so, Chase. So just be careful.
We're gonna figure out why that happened real quick.
Is there a way to have fixed elements? Same, it's the feature. You have to vote for it. But I know that fixed elements is something that is coming.
You're right. Okay, we're gonna figure that out. We're gonna do it one more time. You can see that I have on my screen 4 line items.
Okay.
Right. And I'm going to save just in case I didn't save the last one, description. And we're going to go back to that file, which is right here in my File Explorer. And we're going to go from description right on over. And I think I know why. This is something that I forgot when you go off. Okay, so here we go. What's happening is that it's spanning over here with the rest of the list.
Oh,
Right?
that's why.
Yes. So now there you go. As soon as I actually brought it in, we're good to go.
Makes sense. So yes, Ben Borg is asking, now do we have the same features on Mac and Windows? And yes. Okay, so that's why now XD is in 1.0. We're on par. Took some time, a lot of efforts for the XD team actually, because it's one of the first huge application developed with UWP.
Yes.
On this new platform. Yes. So, but yes, now if you're a Windows user, you have the same features of a Mac user.
So I'm gonna type that in real quick.
Oh, those XD supports APNGs. Michael, no, you are killing me. APNGs, do you know what this is?
8 PNGs.
A, like A, PNGs.
That's APNGs. I mean,
the
alpha. Is that alpha PNGs? Are you talking about?
With alpha channel?
Is that what you mean? Or?
Yeah. If you're talking about transparent PNGs, yeah, definitely. Just have to drag and drop them. Yeah.
All right. So the next thing I want to do, just really kind of get me a handle on what visual elements I want before I go into this flow real quick. Just want to show that I use the character map here. That's a default on Windows to kind of see all the icons that if you are operating on Windows 10, so go MDL, which stands for Material Design Language 2, Modern Design Language 2, you'll see a whole bevy of predefined icons here, and there's no shortage of them. And so I can literally just select one of them. Let's go and select, let's say, let's go and select which one seems to be kind of appropriate. And we'll get, different icons in here, but I just wanted to show one little feature before we get going too far. And let's say one of them was music, so we'll do that one. What's really great is you can just literally...
they were talking about animated PNGs.
Animated PNGs.
Like the next generation of animated GIFs.
Oh, animated PNGs. I got it.
Okay, animated particle. I was not aware. Thanks. I will do some research. Spec tool to send to devs. Not yet, John. Not yet. Joao Felipe, good to see you.
Okay, so you see that I can have that icon here just to kind of whether that's going to be dinner or whatnot. Nothing too fancy here, but what I wanted to do is see if I can also just plop in all those assets as a text file and have it render here just as I did the other type. So this is an experiment. I tried it once and it seemed to have worked. So
okay, I've never seen that, so yeah, it's a first.
It's a first. So I'm going to take that same thing. I'm just going to have another text file. Text files are your friend. And you'll see them all rendered kind of in this really squiggly manner that doesn't render correctly.
Oh, yeah. So it's just the
again, this is not... So these are font icons, which are really fantastic in a couple of different ways. One, you don't have to actually really develop any various SVGs in different scales, even though we on UWP develop within what we call effective pixels, where, depending on your device scale, DPI is independent of all the things that you have to be considerate of. You're really just designing for the screen at hand, which makes things a lot easier for us designers.
And after that, a lot of people want to see how to handle wrapping text in the repeating grid.
Okay.
I can show you again. Yeah.
So I'm going to make this and call this icons.
Okay, so you have a text file with icons.
Okay. So I think this will save the Unicode that I need here, even though it said no, but we're going to try.
Where is your text file?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, where is your text?
Yeah, I forgot the text field. It's over here. That was my bad. And I'm just going to use the repeat grid.
How to get icons? So it's a typeface, right?
It's a typeface. Yes.
Yeah, it's a typeface made of icons. So instead, if you type B, instead of displaying a B, it will display a home icon, for instance.
Okay.
Is there a text file linked with the text in Adobe XD?
Oh, it almost worked. It almost worked. It brought in...
What is... Oh, yeah, almost.
Almost.
Is it the right typeface? Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think it lost some of the. Okay. Well.
Almost.
Almost. Live and learn. Live and learn. But what's
Can you reposition the image after you place it in a shape? So there are two ways. You can place in a shape, and you can also create a mask, Larry. So I invite you to check the mask method. Is there integration with Fireworks? No scene. So XD has been really inspired by Fireworks. It used to be a Macromedia and an Adobe product, but Fireworks has been discontinued maybe 10 years ago maybe. So no, there is no integration.
And I'll just select another icon for it.
And XD is very, very fast.
Very fast.
We really invite you to try XD on your machine. You will be amazed by how fast this is. Even if you have like 300 or 1,000 screens in the project, it will be super smooth, very smart, very fast.
Yeah, I'm on a 2-year-old, I believe, Surface Pro 3.
Yeah.
And again, having no problems right now with performance. There's not a lot going on, but you can see that if I just, copy paste to infinitum, there is, really no issue here with speed. And so I'm gonna get rid of those. I don't need all of those screens.
Okay. And as you customize the screen, I will talk about the contest again. So we invite you during this show to open XD and create a 3-screen experience, just 3 screens. It's enough. The theme of the day is travel, and you can use the prototype view to connect the screens and use the share button. So in XD it's here. Okay, share to create a link, and you paste the link in the chat. Okay, and when we will receive some prototypes, we will feature them live during this show, and we will ask Daniel, what is your favorite one? And he will pick his favorite one, and the author of the prototype will win a Creative Cloud subscription, 1 year. And it's the full Creative Cloud subscription, so Photoshop, Illustrator, XD, After Effects, everything for 1 year.
So now what I want to do is have the instance where I'm starting to type in, and I'm getting this screen ready, or will be. So what are your interests is kind of like once you actually have the system already knows your preferences, but you haven't been able to select your preferences yet. So I'm going to have a screen where you can actually have a grid and show just how we're going to emphasize visuals in a different way slightly to kind of just really select what kind of things you love to do. Are you active? Are you someone who likes to be indoors more? Do you like, what are your preferences in general? And we'll have that selection, and that will feed into for this app, your kind of preferences, so that can help you connect with other like-minded people. And then it will kind of help you also filter down what you are seeing as you kind of predictively type what your interests are in that particular moment. Because again, it's bounded about, where you are locally. So I'm going to take this whole thing here and create a different type of grid. I'm going to go back into the toolkit.
So Jessica, if you are not a Creative Cloud member, you can download the free trial of Adobe XD and build a prototype now. So it's super easy. Just copy paste elements. You can import images.
And one thing I do want to bring in here is get some navigation going.
Adobe XD symbols should be dynamic software. They are. So you have this concept, Radu. I will try to show you. I need to find an example first.
I'm just going to try it over. Do this, lock that, and do
Okay, so I will show you, Radu, the concept of symbols. So this is a project, the SIA application. And if you open on the left, so you have a layers panel, but you also have the assets panel. You have colors, character styles, and symbols. Okay, so you see this plus icon here is actually a symbol. So I will move it here, and I will start, we'll change the design of the symbol. So we just do this and a rotation, and then it's on all my screen. Okay, so that's why we call it a symbol. You have one instance. What I can also do is have a global color. So if I move to the top, you see this red is almost everywhere. So I will do right click and edit. And if you look at my UI, it will change the color on all my screens when I use this color in the assets panel. Okay, so make sure to check the assets panel. You can really save time when you create your design. If you need to make a decision such as changing an icon, changing color, changing a text style, it will impact all your screens.
And what's going to happen is I'm going to create a grid of just simple shapes that are going to be allowing you to choose the preferences you want, and we'll do like a little check validation at the end, and then that will give you a confirmation screen, and then it will move you into what are your interests for activities. So adding a little bit of type here, and I might want a description for that. Actually, I might want to make this a little bigger. We'll make this. Let's see, there's a few more, as many as we can. And maybe take the artboard.
Hi team, thanks for joining. Can XD be used together with Muse? And sorry, Ferry, if you have to repeat the questions. We have a lot of questions today, so don't hesitate to repeat your questions. Come from full feature HTML sites. So, okay. So Adobe XD is really in the first phase of your design when you have to create a prototype, maybe in lo-fi. So this is what Daniel is starting now. It's lo-fi, you know.
The skeleton, the bare bones.
Skeleton, like a wireframe, but a little bit more advanced here because he's already using the right typeface of the OS. But just to structure the information. And then you can already create an interactive prototype, maybe validate this prototype with your users, get some feedback, fine-tune it, improve it. And when you feel good with the experience, maybe you can start to add some UI elements, like to do some UI design, adding colors, gradients, images. Again, you see, you get the feedback from your users. And when you feel very good about your user experience, you know that it will work because you run a lot of user tests. Then you can say, okay, what will be the output? Maybe it's a website. Then you can choose to use Adobe Muse. You can choose to use Dreamweaver. You can choose to use any apps. Or maybe it would be a native app. Then you need to use Visual Studio, I guess, in this case. But make sure to invest a lot of time in this first phase with XD. Make sure to validate your user experience before jumping into developing pages or developing screens with native apps. Because if you develop everything and you realize that the users are confused, the workflow is not efficient, the user flow is just broken, then it will cost a lot of money to change it in code.
Absolutely. So now I'm just going to populate this with some copy to kind of select your activity preference. Select, are you more of an outdoor person? So what I'm actually going to do is like more of are you active? Are you into sports? Any suggestions would be welcome. So just like, what are your general preferences when you go out and you're trying to? So it could be a couple things. Like, are you a music lover? Are you someone who likes to be more indoors, what are those things that you all love? And then I'm going to populate that grid, and we'll have visuals later at that as well that will kind of like set the system preferences for you.
So do you need some ideas from the chat?
That'd be great.
Yeah, okay. If you have some ideas, so indoor activities?
Yeah, indoor activities, outdoor activities. Just what are you looking for?
Rock climbing.
Rock climbing, all right.
On a cruise. I mean, why not? Yeah. You can have a wall, actually. Jesse?
Rock climbing.
Fernanda is asking, so would you create reusable UI objects in XD or in Illustrator, and then you copy paste to XD?
It really depends on the team. There are times where you do start it in Illustrator, and again, through the power of libraries, you're able to again connect that and work with other people as well. If it's something I'm doing it completely myself, it depends. I might have everything within Adobe XD as much as possible to repurpose those elements, but again, it really depends on the scale of the project, the scale of your team, how big the team is, and really just trying to figure out whether or not that works for your workflow. So it's really a question of preference and how the workflow works best for the individual or the team as a whole.
So Dana is suggesting Zumba. I like this.
Zumba.
We have a yoga.
Yes, there
we
you
have
go.
a weightlifting. We
Yes.
have sailing. We have a basket weaving. Working out, so maybe a gym. Can I export Illustrator file to XD? So actually, Khaled, you just have to copy paste.
Yep,
Okay,
that's
so
it.
you are in Illustrator, you select an object, several objects, copy and paste, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. There's something else.
Is there a way for XD to support Arabic right to left prototypes? So I think, it's not the case today, but if you check user voice, I think it's in the features request. I'm pretty sure actually, and it's definitely on the roadmap. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And UWP supports obviously their their global products. They do buy die and all that.
Good point. Soccer. Do you like soccer?
I am not a huge. I'll play tennis.
Oh, okay.
Tennis will play tennis.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, let's add tennis then.
But soccer, I have many. I'm having a problem typing the word soccer. That's embarrassing. I'm not much of a sports person, but I can get into it with people and watch the sport.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Live.
You
I
can
love
share
watching
the-
live in person rather than on TV or whatnot.
I see. When are you launching the next round of announced features, Eric? Just in a few weeks, because we have monthly releases. So we just released one last week. So just wait for 2 or 3 weeks, and you have a new features coming in XD. Oh, there is a typo with the rock climbing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, you see, they're watching. Huh?
They're watching.
Impressive.
Thank you. Yep. There's no. Oops. And this. Is that right?
Okay, and as you are filling, I will show you a prototype that has been shared by someone watching. It's called Flighty. So again, we invite you to create with Adobe XD a prototype, share it with us. The theme of the day is travel. So Flighty, very nice welcome experience. So I can sign in. How many trips have been planned with Anna George? You can check Explore and my profile.
Very nice.
Yep. It works.
All right, fantastic.
Very good. And at the end of the show, if you have more entries, we will ask Daniel which one you prefer. Yep. And the preferred one will get a 1-year Creative Cloud subscription. It's a good entry. Yeah. You see,
Good
it's super
value
easy.
too. That subscription, 1 year, that's fantastic.
Yeah. I like the header with the.
So I wanted to show something really small but really interesting. So you can see that when I dropped in all the very activity preferences, again, we're not filling them all out. You can see that there's already alignment issues, which is fantastic to already know and explore. And what's really fantastic is by selecting one of the objects here, you can literally just go into and set your justification settings. So I just want to center that, and now everything is actually centered. And so anything to that one object, because it's in repeat grid, will trickle down. And you can see here that there's already kind of an issue with how some of the type is bleeding out. And what's really fantastic is you can just really just go in per, and it will, again, you'll see while climbing echoed more than once, but you can actually get that element broken into different.
On 2 lines.
Yeah, 2 lines. And I think the spacing here is a little wonky too, but we'll change that in a second. Hey.
Dana, this is made with a repeat grid. Yeah.
I want to give it more space. Mm-hmm. And already, I'm going to get into something really basic here, which is this confirmation screen. So I'm going to keep moving this way, actually. And see, what's really great is like you really can work any way to fill in gaps within the flow. Again, we're doing things very ad hoc here to kind of look and chase what we're trying to achieve here because we're working on a lot of assumptions. Generally, you would have a roadmap built out and a wireframe thing that's being built out. We're doing that right now. And here, what I want to do is basically just show that I've made selections in the next screen. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and go back and get that nice little check icon. I know we have one. And where are you at? There you go. I just passed it. And let's save these. And let's go and make that. So this is really helping me just visualize what as a user I'd be doing from a functionality point of view. So at this point I have select your activity preferences. Right now I'm not too concerned about hierarchy in great detail. I'm just looking to see whether or not the interaction model works, the flow from one thing to another makes sense. And again, I get to do all that and vet it by just the nature of the Adobe XD kind of workflow and its kind of real prototype strengths.
So we have a question by Carolina. She's asking if she can export a prototype as a movie. So yes, Carolina. So I will show you how. Chris, if you can share my screen. So when you are in the desktop preview here, so this is where you can test your prototype. Okay. So again, this is just this play icon here, desktop preview. There is a record button here that will record a video. So let's see what it does.
That's a fantastic feature, by the way. I love it.
I click here, next, and I click here to stop. And it will just create a video on my desktop that you can share, that you can edit, you can record your voice over it using Audition. So it's also a great way to share your work and explain to your users, your customers, what you have in mind.
Yeah, especially if you're not able to present in person, it's offline, someone around the world, different time zone. It's really great to have these artifacts that you can just literally just have, and it conveys exactly what you want. So we're gonna have some copy for this later. I don't know what it is yet, but we'll figure that out together. And we'll add some verbiage behind that. Do some lips and temps. Just grab some monkey text. There are so many different ways to do this, but I've just gotten so accustomed to going to that site. I have this affinity for it. Don't ask me why I have an affinity for it, but I do. And we'll just do that. Sorry if my screen's too small. And then there will be a button, so I'm going to go grab the button that I want in the toolkit, and it's over here. And I want this button that will wrap.
Nice. So Praveen, if you want to share your prototype on a mobile, the best way is to, as Daniel was explaining, is to share your prototype so it becomes a web link, a web page, and you load the page on your mobile device. On any device, actually. It's a very good way also to feel the size.
Absolutely. And I'm about to do that right now just to kind of get a basic feel. So we're going to get exactly where that is.
Paul is asking, by using XD, can you ensure that you are doing accessible designs?
Sure. So the one thing I will say is the toolkit, as I mentioned before, is been designed with accessibility in mind. So we're looking not just at the touch target size, whether that be 44 pixels, effective pixels, I must say, for large targets, or whether or not we're talking about colors as well. So you can see here there are various states, and we'll later do as we get more and more into the design the next day and the day following, is we're going to make these, which are right now, if you'll notice, they're just elements. They're just on if you can look on my left-hand side with my layer panel open, again, that's Control-Y. you'll notice that everything is kind of really nicely organized into its own individual folders. But if you look over, there are no symbols yet. So if I make this button an actual symbol, you can go a couple of ways to do that. You can right-click, and you can say Make Symbol, or you could do Control-K, which, again, I'm a kind of a in-between shortcuts, and, you know, sometimes I use the mouse primarily in an interface. Depends on where I'm at and where my head's at. You can see that now, when I actually do that, it's actually making that element itself a symbol. And since this toolkit has all the other states, hover, it's already there built in for accessibility. So the minimum context ratio, all of that's been thought of as well. And so not just the size of the objects, but other things. As I mentioned before, these toolkits, the ones that are especially for UWP, also have built-in policies if you actually on the engineering side. So when you hand these over to design, engineering,
Yeah.
they have equivalents on their side that are basically say, hey, if this is verbatim, you get all the policy controls. Sometimes they're for power. For instance, if you have low battery, sometimes the effects will, like the acrylic material will go off.
Yeah.
And all of that's built into the the toolkit and built into design UWP. So you can see that the symbol is made. I don't know why actually the symbol is white. We'll figure that out later, but we'll get into that as we get more and more along the process. I'm just going to copy everything over because something's going on. So let's do that now. Why are you not doing what I want you to do? Okay, so that should work. That's.
Do you want anything to drink, Daniel? You
I'm
have
running
Dina
low
asking.
on water. That's about it.
Running low on water. You want a tea? No, you're good.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, we'll figure that out later why it's not rendering, but the element is there. So right now I'm just going to do very basic hooking up and seeing if all that works to my liking. So I'm going to switch over to prototyping mode, which is fantastic. Again, what I really love about it is that you're not having to switch your workflow up, go to a different app, go to a different experience. I don't have to manage anything else. So right here I can literally just go, okay, here's my situation. At default, you can see that the entire artboard that I had previously selected is predominantly already focused. That's not what I want. Obviously, what I want to have happen is that I want to indicate that one of these eventually will have images and iconography and a little bit more finesse to it. That one of the objects you select, or maybe multiple, are going to go to the next one that validates that you've clicked and selected more than one. So we're going to just do one and do sports in this particular instance. So I'm clicking in, double clicking in, and I now am able to focus that one object, which is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then again, I get the handle, which is fantastic. Now I can just basically say, hey, here's the artboard. Michael went through this before.
So you select the transition.
I want to transition this.
So dissolve is a basic fade in, fade out.
Basic fade in, fade out.
Super classic one.
And depending on the platform, right now.
Oh yeah, it's a good point. So
yeah, depending on the platform, Windows UWP really can do whatever you want to do. But again, some of the default behaviors in terms of animations and slides are not akin to like what you say for iOS or Android, which there's a lot of like slide left, drawers open from the left and whatnot. So what I really want to do is try to figure out a language that's most aligned to what you see a lot of UWP apps doing. And so what I want to do right now is just, as I'm working at the level, I'm going to keep it at dissolve, but what I want to do is I want to minimize the duration of time to 0.2 to kind of speed things up. And I want to leave the ease out function as it is. And so now, oops, I just moved everything. At this point, I made my selections. I'm going to open up this artboard. And then say this one is going to require a button, but that's going to go here. And what's really interesting, you can see that the dissolve and the duration time are in sync to my last setting, so you don't keep having to manually do it, which is fantastic. And then I'm just going to hook this up to this again. Really quick, there's going to be a button. Oops, sorry. That is not what I wanted to do. So there's the button. There's a button there. I don't know why it's not rendering. We'll figure that out. And that's going to go here. And then
so yeah, so we have a lot of questions about how it compares with InVision. So what we try to do with the XD is a all-in-one. So you see, you design in your prototype in the same tool, and then you share, and you can get comments from the users on each screen directly on the web. This is the vision we have, okay? And at any time you can tweak the design, you keep all the interactions, and you click on update, and it's directly updated on the web, so you get more reviews. So that's what we have in mind.
So there's also a thing I didn't realize I didn't do. I'm going to have to save this document. So let's do that before anything happens.
Daniel is asking, can you export in JPEG? So you can export each artboard or even each element. So what you select, if you do Control E or Command E for exports, you can export to PNG, SVG, I think. Not JPEG.
Not JPEG.
PNG. So you keep it pure.
Pure, as much as possible. I would love to open it up to see if there's any kind of recommendations for this activity finder app. Is there a word we want to use right now for just as a thing that we use as a, I don't know, what do you call it? A code word for the app yet? Or I'm looking for a name of the app.
Name. They will be super creative.
Yeah. Right now, it's just going to be called Activity Finder.
Vitamin is coming. I hide the sponsor. Do you want some vitamins?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
This is the water.
Have a straw.
Just to hydrate. Right?
Project Chess. No. We have Densky in the chat.
Project Chess.
So Daniel White, check his YouTube channel. He records tutorials about XD.
Okay.
And he was live with us from Max last week. He was awesome.
Okay.
How much time do we have left for a competition? So with Daniel, for this episode, you have about 40 minutes left. But the travel competition and the theme will run during the entire day. Okay, so it will be the same thing during the next show. So for let's say you have 7 hours. Okay, if you can stay awake 7 hours. Okay, we need a name for the app. Find a name. And not Project Chess. Doesn't make any sense. We're on a cruise.
Is there a meaning behind that word? I don't know.
No, it's just my last name.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. That's the meaning.
That's the meaning.
Okay, so team is suggesting 7 things. Okay. Leisure. Okay, Raphael. Okay, we're getting there.
Interesting.
So it's an activity finder. We are connecting activities and people
that have like-minded preferences. So we're going to basically have a place where you can say, hey, these are my preferences and like. Then you can say, these are the things I want to do while I'm on the boat itself. And again, you can think about this more broadly too, but we're keeping it contained to cruise. The goal will be to also see how this is going to work for other scenarios down the road, especially as we kind of even flirt with the last day and see if it can be moved to a different, outside of cruise, maybe it's going to be for more music or concert-based thing, right? So again, the premise itself is I want to engage with people who are like-minded in their preferences that are doing things, and I just want to be connected with them and join those activities and know where they are. So that's where we're going so far right now. I have the link actually here already that I can see. It's already kind of hooked up, which is nice. But I want to actually have this on my phone because I just want to just validate, whether or not the size of my objects for some of the stuff that I created myself are appropriate. So I have that link now. I'm just going to basically email it to myself. Is that fun? Can I email it to myself?
There is cruise control. It's funny. Cruise control. So Paul, you were asking where are the details about the contest. So I've just displayed a contest tab. Okay, if you check on Behance, there is a contest tab. Oh, Tamara, there is no record button in Windows. Okay, we will ask Stalin. Okay, we will have the product manager with us live, and we will ask him. See, I'm not surprised because I know that we leverage QuickTime on Mac, which is a native. So.
Which is native. All right.
Yeah.
So now I want to go over to my phone.
Can you integrate Google Fonts? So, Michael, any fonts that you can install on your system, it will work in XD. And you can actually, of course, install Google Fonts. Also, all your fonts, if you are a Creative Cloud member that you sync from Typekit, are available in XD.
So I have the link on my phone. I don't know if you want to show, but...
yeah, let's try with the GoPro. See how it goes.
All right, so here you can see that I have my initial screen that I had here. And I can see a bunch of different things that are of interest to me. I'm going to say sports for one, and let's say I also did a bunch of other ones like sailing, rock climbing. A very active person, if you see. And then I made that connection. I'm going to add a button there that basically commits that. Thank you screen for saying thank you for your preferences. We'll upload it to the system. The button's not rendering right now, but it's there. And what's nice is if you don't remember where all your hotspots are, tapping anywhere that's not a hotspot gives you that little indicator, so that's fantastic. So now we have what are your interests. And this is where you have the ability to kind of type your own, scroll down. Again, you see the scrolling is working within the browser really well. And it's giving me the idea of scale, proportion. And here I can even look at the drop down to see how that works. And already if I had another item here, I can actually type it in and do that. But again, that's where it ends right now. But again, it works fantastically. So I'm able to do that real time as quick as I was able to design it. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, it works well.
It works well.
You can really feel the size of everything. You can really feel the size.
And this is a Windows phone. I have
good.
my old 950 Lumia. Is it Lumia? I think this was still called a Lumia. And so it's fantastic that I don't have anything tethered, or it's just all online. And again, especially if I was sharing this with other people, the commenting system is fantastic. That's very important to make sure that as you move along and you progress within your design, that you're gaining, kind of validation from everyone else, kind of stress testing your assumptions, that you have enough stakeholders involved, whether it be other peers within your team, all kind of collaborating. And this really helps real-time interaction, really kind of flesh out what the app will eventually become. So already, there's a couple things that I know I need. One of them is at your select your activity preferences, I need a explicit commit action. Like I need to say, I'm done selecting everything. I need to now move on.
A commit, okay.
And so what I want to show everyone, again, my whole thing with this presentation is to show, even if you don't have everything buttoned up and you're just trying to really start your design and you're getting a handle for things as you go along, some people operate that way, you can not have to worry about, oh, I've already prototyped it, what can I do to go back? No, none of that should worry you. You can actually just break it down from right here. So I'm going to go back from prototyping to design, and I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to do a little housekeeping here, and add a little more structure to this. So this is my activity preference selector. And again, this is all being designed on a Surface Pro 3.
Life.
And really quickly, I'm going to figure out why this button is not doing what I want to do. It is visible. Okay.
It's transparent.
It is transparent. Why is that? Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to go back to the tool. There shouldn't be that happening. That is not transparent.
Oh, there is some transparency.
Oh, you know what? I automatically go to dark theme. So there's something I didn't talk about. So let me back up and recalibrate here. So within Windows UWP, the OS supports light and dark theme. So sometimes that's a preference you can enable for users. Again, it can also index on accessibility. So in lighting scenarios that are different, contrast helps, or even at night, for instance. Yeah. Some people like to read and consume lower contrast so it does not burn out your retinas. So what I forgot, and again, my preference here gave me a bias where I went automatically to dark theme because it was my favorite theme. But essentially what I needed to do was go up here and actually select the appropriate light theme because we're on a white background at the moment. We can easily change that out as we move around and adding, again, more details and design as we go down the rest of the process here. But again, that was something that I just neglected. So again, it's very easy to kind of, recalibrate and adjust. these are all broken up. There you go. I don't need this guy. Oops. So there's another thing that's really interesting here. Very common convention across all Adobe products is you basically just hold the Alt key, and then you basically can pull it in at the same time, ensuring that your elements are properly aligned on each side. So I'm going to leave myself a little gap here, take that element, center it, give myself a mindful difference. Let's say this height is 54. Let's keep that down here for right now. Okay. We'll just do continue.
So is it possible to get a link, live link for internal hosted server? So no, today it's publishing to Creative Cloud, I call that. So no, it's and the code to render your XD prototype is running on Creative Cloud, so you cannot host it on your own server. But you can embed it. You can embed your web prototype on your website. So either you share the link or you embed the code. You can also embed a live prototype on Behance, for instance, in your Behance portfolio.
Yeah, the integration with all the Adobe products in terms of portfolio really helped me out as a designer. Yeah. I was able to go directly from having everything set up and see that the Adobe service you have for portfolio was really just a seamless integration.
Yeah, you select a template, everything is up to date. Yeah.
And there's a lot of great templates out there too, by designers that have different styles. Okay, so I have a couple of necessary buttons. And what I'm going to do, something that I always do in all my prototypes is I add a little transparent button at the top corner or somewhere where I know I'm not going to have any interaction to get me back to reset the app. So that's a very minor thing to have, but it's an important feature nonetheless in case you get stuck in a loop or something like that. So right now what I'm going to do is just have this little shape here that has a 0 border and 0 transparency, or 100%. And let's take that. So I have that object I can rely on. I'm just going to copy paste that everywhere. And again, copy pasting from the artboard is going to keep the same location, so I don't have to worry about where it's at.
And we receive more entries, but let me filter first. This one. So again, the theme today is travel. Okay, so let me show 3 more. The first one is a trip request. Trip quest. Okay. Ooh. Is it for tablets? Okay. Yeah. Nice wireframe. Barcelona, Lorem Ipsum. Request. Okay, good job. We have also the curly packages. Okay, nice wireframe, view details. Yeah, it works. Submit query. Oh, that's nice. It looks like. Is it like inspired by Android?
Yes, you can see the cap and all the.
Yeah, that's very nice. Good job, Dana.
Yeah.
And this one looks great. So
Napa Valley.
If you want to visit the Napa Valley, that's a travel. You can go here. You have day 2, day 3. And I like this. You see the hamburger menu, and then you can access the days directly from the menu.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
love that.
Good job. Keep sharing your prototypes. If you want to enter the contest, at the end of the show, Daniel will pick one, and the author of the prototype will get a 1-year Creative Cloud subscription. So keep sharing. Use XD. If you want to see the rules of the contest, there is now a contest tab. It has just appeared on behance.net/live. Okay, so you put links everything.
I'm putting, Oh, I did not zoom out far enough to do that. Yeah, so I'm just routing everything back to the main board
Mm-hmm.
in case I need to restart. And so if I step back, it's not terribly complicated. And what you can do is always just focus the particular object that you're on to know where all the links are. You can back out and select one of the boards to see where its network of links are going. So that's really fantastic too. And again, if I just want to do a quick test, I can do that right in line within mobile contacts. Get the scroll, sports, fantastic, continue.
Igor, thanks for sharing. They keep sharing prototypes. That's good.
That's fantastic. Keep sharing.
Yeah. But that's good is that they can create this experience just in a few minutes with
yes.
XD. And it's very impressive.
Exactly. Especially if you have a solid idea or you have references you're looking at, the fastest way to build is just kind of get it right into the design immediately. And you can start, again, we didn't have these pieces. These are intentionally not included to show you how easy it is to kind of readjust your plan of attack, to look at the flow, and to kind of build what you need to as you really validate your design process as you move forward. So now I'm going to further organize this a little bit more. Get everything out. Alright, I'm going to start fleshing out a couple of things here.
And we're still live with Daniel for about like 25 minutes.
25 minutes, alright.
And then we will be live with Malice and Wolf, who just joined us in the studio.
Hello.
In the back.
So one of the things that is unique to Windows UWP is in looking at the navigation. If you go back to the toolkit, you can see that there's a very clear navigation pattern that we can use, right? We can use the navigation that is literally going to be like the hamburger menu, which is going to come out the drawer from the left to right. And everyone can see that, hopefully. And it has this material acrylic behind it. And so defining what the entire navigation schema is going to look like, we want to start to bring this element in and see how that's going to play, so we can actually from one section outside of, so we have preferences. You can basically connect with friends or connect with others that you've connected your activities with. So we want to get a little bit of that in here right now. You also notice that there's a command bar here, which is really going to come up from the bottom of the app. The one thing, if you have a really long scrolling list, as we do in our particular scenario, you can see again that dotted line represents how long it is past the fold of the particular device you're using. You're going to have to find a way to anchor that particular navigation element, because as you scroll, that anchor needs to sit there and stay static as you kind of scroll up, because that's navigation, correct? And so that's one of the things to consider if you're looking at anything that needs to have a fixed position. And those are the things that, as you're working through your design and you're working through your prototype, ensure that you have kind of thought out that ahead of time to some extent. Because what you want to make sure you're doing is at least simulating what it would be like. And not always do you need to emulate every single detail of your app. It's making sure that the flow itself is the sensible direction for the particular experience and for the user itself. So right now, this is the 320, this is 360.
You're checking the dimensions.
Yes. Yeah, we have different sizes. 320 is the really min, but in most preferences, 360 is the width that we target for. If you didn't look at my artboard before, the original was set to 360 by 640. Let me make sure that's the right number.
Also, very quickly, someone was asking how can you work with mask and pictures. So I'll quickly show it. So let's say you have an artboard with a picture here, and we just draw on top of it a shape. So you have also a pathfinder, by the way. Okay, so any kind of shape. Then you select both, and you go in Object, Mask with Shape. Okay, and here we go. Okay, now you have and you can still move it here. You can scale it down. Okay, super easy. So I really invite you to use mask in shape. It's in the object menu.
Let's see, I think this will work.
Is it possible to print the flow? Thorbjorn.
Print the flow.
Thorbjorn. This is a first name that Rolf can read, but I can't. Thorbjorn. Must be from your country, Rolf.
Scandinavia.
Yeah, it's Scandinavian for sure. Nordics. To print the flow. Okay.
I've never printed a flow.
No. I can show you. Okay. A workaround. If we go on my screen. Okay, let's say you have this project and you switch to the prototype view and you have a lot of interactions. What you can do at this stage, you say select all, and it will show you all the interactions. Okay, it will show you the flow, and then you can take screenshots and print them. That would be my workaround. He's from Denmark. No. Almost the same country, but no. Almost. It's very insulting. It would be like saying I'm from Belgium.
So right now I'm just having commanding, because I don't believe this app is going to require the full navigation bar, but we'll show you just how that looks like anyways.
Yeah.
But I'm going to drop in the command bar, which gives me control over what are the things on the canvas itself. And so these are really quick actions that you can just toggle up, swipe up, or tap on the little buttons, and then we'll show how that little interaction works. We're gonna flow it, but it's still gonna communicate the intent of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about communicating the intent, telling the story.
Absolutely.
George asking, can this version handle drop-down list boxes? So actually, you can fake it. You can fake a drop-down. This is what you are doing.
Yes, that's what I did. Yeah. So I had that already, where you basically just have it right in place where you need it, and you tap, you go to the next screen, and it creates the illusion that it's a drop-down on top of another content, as long as you obviously have the original content below it. And so you can really you can have a fun time kind of thinking about creative ways of getting closer and closer to reality. All the kind of like behaviors you would normally kind of use within an app or even a website of any kind, including drop downs. It's more important to have the actual states and the flow really thought out well, so you know exactly what your states are going to be while you start to actually layer all your interactions and connect all the prototyping elements necessary for it.
And Jel van der Meulen, thanks for sharing your prototype. They are working.
No worries. All right.
Like you, Daniel. I'm the only one not working there.
Oh well, you're doing a lot right now, to be honest.
Is there a workaround with the fonts showing up missing in the XD mobile app? You know what, Roman? I'm not aware of this one, so we will ask Tallinn. I thought that when you do a mobile preview, I thought we were exporting PNGs. I was pretty sure of it. So we can display any type of font. It's the same on the web actually. We're using a technology that we're showing images. So if the user has not the font installed, he will see the right font. So I thought it was the case on the mobile app, but we will ask Tallinn later. So Tallinn will join us in about 6 hours. No, way less, like 4 hours. He's the lead designer of Adobe XD, and he will be with Daniel Morimoto, and they will design new features for XD live using Adobe XD. You see the inception there?
I see the inception. It's fantastic. Okay. It's almost too much to bear. It's almost too much to handle. So
Steph Lee, can you talk a little bit more about the After Effects integration? Yes, there is no integration. Can they talk to each other? No, unfortunately, Steph Lee. But I love this concept. If you go on xd.uservoice.com, there is a huge conversation about micro interactions. Mm-hmm. And I know Tallinn has some prototypes actually of micro interactions. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. So Tallinn, you will see when he's live. He's a little bit crazy, so sometimes he forgets that there are stuff under NDA that you're supposed to share, and sometimes he share what's coming.
I've been in that situation where sometimes you get so excited about it and you just want to share it, but you gotta be careful. All right. And then I'm going to do a couple of things just because I can't stand looking at gray for too long, even though we're still in this kind of wireframing process. We still want to have a little bit more signal as to what we're doing. So I'm just going to pick this as a green. And we'll do something on the kind of crazy neon.
Alex is asking, if you want to watch the episode with Daniel again, right after this live, the replay will be available on the Creative Cloud YouTube channel. Okay, so make sure to subscribe to behance.net/live. I'm sure you noticed there is a subscribe button. If you missed it, go to the schedule tab, and on the right, one of the cards, you can subscribe to be notified next time we go live. Just need to fix the technology. We're working on it. I'm sure it will work one day. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Oh, yes. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
One thing I want to show is that there are now specific things I want to do to each of the objects here that I'm selecting. So one, I made the color, which are independent objects that are just, check marks, their type fonts.
Oh, yeah.
But what I want to do is also increase the bold or thickness, the weight of the actual circle itself that will
have.
So
it's one by one.
So it's one by one. So what the first thing you want to do is make sure right now, if I do that,
it will do it everywhere.
It will do it everywhere, right? So if I go here, it's going to go boom. Right?
Someone was asking now, how can I just edit one item?
Right, so you want to basically disconnect or unhook the repeat grid mechanism from the actual object itself, which you can see over here, right? So now that particular object itself should, if I remember correctly, have its own control. Oh, sorry. I didn't ungroup it yet. Right, there you go.
Oh, ungroup grid.
Yeah, sorry, I thought I clicked the button, got ahead of myself. That should have ungrouped it. Yeah, oh, sorry.
It's on the grid.
It's on the grid.
Yeah, everywhere. Oh,
it's a group within a group.
Yeah. Now you're good.
Now we're good.
I think it moved a little bit. Maybe you need to align it again. Yeah, I saw the pixel shift.
Right.
So select the repeat grid, and say ungroup.
Right. So
now you can work on each element.
There was two groups. Yeah. And then let's see, we want to do this one.
Matthias, you will have a prototype to share in the next stream. Yeah. So, and again, if you share a prototype during this show and I didn't have the time to feature it, I will probably feature it during the next show. Okay. Don't worry, keep sharing. You can also submit several prototypes if you have other ideas. Don't hesitate to create and share.
So what I want to do is I'm going to do a little bit of. I'm going to do select and then change.
So what is the name of the typeface for the Windows?
Sego UI.
Sego. Oh.
Sego UI.
Serge.
Yeah. Sego UI. Like I said, it's a humanistic typeface. It's really compatible for a wide range of languages as well. Microsoft does a lot of investment at figuring out how everything they build scales for not just accessibility concerns, but for different regions, languages, as I mentioned before. So there's a lot of investment up front to make this as scalable as possible for anyone who wants to get started. That's the beautiful thing. You get the reach right away.
Okay. Yes, Dana, there is a type option if you want to pass everything in uppercase, all your typefaces. Yeah, it's in the advanced text options.
And right now I'm just playing with it, so I don't know whether or not I want to do that, so I'm just playing around.
Oh, Lizzie, it's almost 8 p.m. in Netherlands. Oh, okay. Here it's almost 11 a.m. in San Francisco. Can I pan in an image? Bruno, try the object mask feature I was showing earlier, and then you can pan. You can double click in the image and just move it in the mask. It's easier. Bring back the device preview for Photoshop. Sorry,
What?
it's XD. It was like the device preview that we have for XD. It used to be also for Photoshop.
And of course, you can also multi-object select across artboards like you would expect, so that's really great, especially if I just want to copy and place, but I haven't made it a symbol yet or haven't really centered on it. So I generally refrain from putting things into Symbol until I have a really good idea that this is what I want to do, and then I'm going to codify it with various states that I feel confident in. Otherwise, I'm just adding work to the initial thing that I might throw away. Like these circles, I might make them to squares, and they might be full bleed. They might have images. So depending on the visual design language pass, things can stay very malleable. So you have to really evaluate when you want to invest in creating symbols, why, and then again, you can, of course, change a symbol within itself and have it replicate across the board. It depends on just where your preference lies, but again, make sure you understand your own, preferences as you go down your own workflow. And then I'm going to make this one.
We have Sandeep in the chat saying that he has been using the Sergo UI for years now, and as you said, all the font icons are super easy to use.
They are. Very
good feedback. Is it possible to link a JSON file to that group for live data? So when you have a repeat grid with text, it's not a JSON file actually, it's just a text file. And each line will be one item. You drag and drop the text file on the text field, and it will populate all the lines, one per item in the repeat grid. If you watch this episode, actually, at the beginning of the episode, Daniel was showing. He was showing that.
Let's make sure everything's still hooked up. Back. Okay. I'm going to change this string to, what are you looking to do now? We'll just do
looks clean.
We'll get there to design just
so we're still live together, but like 7 minutes.
7 minutes, okay.
Okay, so maybe I would ask you to pick favorite one. And again, if you share the prototype during this show, I will probably feature it during the next show, so don't worry. Okay, so between trip quest, it's important, Daniel.
That's important.
Okay, let's go back here. Trip quest. Okay, so it's a wireframe, I guess, with a UI. It looks clean. A lot of different dimensions. We had also this one. I think it was by Dana. Again, wireframe, view details. Oh, it was the one with the Android pop-up.
You can see there's a lot of similarities with the patterns there being used.
And she says thank you. Very polite. Napa itinerary with the hamburger menu in the days. We have the travel food.
Love that kind of calligraphy there too, and just like the visual design component of it. Travel food.
So America, country, go back to travel food. I'm not sure how many screens we have, maybe 2, or is there one I'm missing? So you see, if I don't know where to click, I click here, and this is a hint, you know, what I can do.
That's really, really
so
critical.
Maybe there are only 2 screens on this one. And then you remember Flighty, it was at the beginning of the stream. With Explore, Profile, and the Home. Yeah, that's the screens. So which one do you prefer? It's important, huh?
It's very important. No, I think to look at, could I see the one again, Trip Quest real quick again? There was a lot of detail there that was really interesting. Just a lot of content thinking, more like IA centric in its delivery, where you have the Napa the Napa experience, which has a considerable amount of visual design added to kind of the structure of it. I like that kind of drawer. It's very simple. It's kind of unique in itself, and they use lists well and iconography really well. It's straightforward. It seems to be really appropriate for mobile. And the travel food one, has a great kind of leveraging of a consistent list mechanism for visuals. I'm going to say that the Napa version here is grabbing my attention here, because I think it uses the navigation convention of have the hamburger really interesting. It's really confined, constrained to just what it needs to do. It's very clear in terms of the visual hierarchy, and even the button view itinerary is preference over cancel trip. So there's thought and consideration there, and the actual visual design is also really considered, given that it prototyped really quickly. So
good job to the author of the Napa prototype. You win a 1-year Creative Cloud subscription. Yeah. So check your private messages on Behance. Adobe Live will directly send you a message.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, good job. And keep sharing prototypes. We will give away another Creative Cloud subscription during the next show with Madison Wolf. And the show will start in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
So maybe you can share with us, Daniel, what is the plan for tomorrow?
Yes, absolutely. So the plan here is to, now that we have a rough structure, we'll add a couple more strings, but we're also then going to start to layer in a lot more of the details, that are going to fine-tune the hierarchy. The visual design layer is going to get infused here, and then we're going to just make sure that a lot of the details are covered, making sure that the activities make sense, that the progression of selecting your preferences is understood, and that informs kind of what you're going to see when you are looking for something to do at that moment. We're also going to probably add a little bit more of the geolocation sensitivity interaction here as well. So probably 3 more screens, and that will kind of then round out our mobile view. And most likely the day after that, we'll look at taking this exact same flow, the experience itself, and porting that directly into a responsive view for desktop /tablet.
Okay.
So we're going to go from mobile, desktop, tablet.
And in the same project.
All in the same project, same artboard, same context.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we have 2 more minutes. Maybe you want to show the prototype again?
Yes.
The live preview?
Let's do that.
So we have what the
save
flow
it.
is.
And should I show it? I'll show it. Show it here. So here we go. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of black everything else so you can actually see it independently. There you go. So we have our scrolling list. We have our navigation lock at the bottom. Yeah. We'll change all that to be more relevant to the actual task at hand. We have our selection. Again, if you don't know what it is, you can just always tap out. And this is the sports rock climbing. So this person is more of an enthusiast, more of an active person on the cruise. We're going to be able to continue. We're going to thank that person for their ability to kind of inform the system what they are really interested and passionate about. And then we're going to ask them, what are we looking to do now? Here you can see kind of top trending local activities, popular activities. We'll also probably do something a little more interactive where we have a trending component to this. So it's more in the moment, if you will. So these are things that are happening around you. So if you want to do something now versus later, we'll add that component in here. So we'll do, again, geolocation and a timing filter so that whether or not you want to do something now or in the future, you have those 2 conventions set. And then again, the drop down for the particular item, and you start typing ahead, and then we'll go to the next screen for that, which will get you connected to the activity and to the people there.
Cool.
And again, going back is that little guy there.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
And so you will be back tomorrow. Same time on Behance.net/live. For us, we will enjoy now Madison Wolf. They will do also UX and UI design in about 6-7 minutes, just at the top of the hour on Behance.net/live. Keep sharing your prototypes. If you share a prototype during the first show, we will also feature your prototype during the next show, so stay with us. Let's all say thank you to Daniel. He will be back.
Thank you.
And,
honor being here.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, there is a huge crowd.
There's a huge crowd. There is a huge crowd. That's a huge crowd. Yeah.
Okay, thanks everyone, and we will be back, 5 minutes on Behance.net/live.
Thank you.